Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our webinar this afternoon, which is a very high-profile subject. We're going to be discussing the new free trade agreement that has been signed with Turkey. So we have two prominent members of that negotiation. We have Judith Slater, who was our Consul General, and is now moving on to bigger things. She's currently located in London for the time being, but still retains responsibility, and she is very well informed as to the background of that negotiation, together with David Machin, who's the trade attaché in the embassy in Ankara, who was also part of the negotiation. So we have the people that matter on this subject. They've been deeply involved, and they're going to share their insights, and looking forward to how this FTA will enhance our trade relationships between Turkey and the UK. So I'm going to hand over now to Judith as a keynote speaker to give us the background to the FTA and why the FTA is important and what has changed. We will be having Q&A, and if you could please register your Q&A on the Q&A button. We'll endeavour to answer the questions during the session, but given that we've got over 390 people registered for this webinar, it's probably unlikely that we will be able to field all the questions in the time that we have allocated. So please register your questions. The ones we can't get to, we will follow up later with the trade team in the consulate. So don't be shy. Get your questions out there, and as I say, we'll do our best to handle as many as we can. Any that we don't handle will be followed up on, so you will get answers. So I'm going to hand over to Judith and ask her to kick off with the keynote speech. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Chris, and hello everybody. And first thing I should say is Chris is being far too modest. The Chamber, Chris, Emra, and other members of the Chamber were very in this stuff as well, and very instrumental in getting the deal over the line. We're very indebted to them and to the business community more widely for all the inputs that you've given in the process of getting the agreement done. And we'll come on to talk about how important it is that we talk to business and that you give us your views and tell us what you'd like to be in the next iteration of the FTA, which is what we want to talk about also today. I should say immediately that the real expert on the technicalities is David, who is with us today. David Machin, who has been a real very important figure as these negotiations went through over the last, at least 3 years. The real value of these things that always is the Q&A. So I'm going to keep my remarks reasonably short, in the hope that we did one of these, I think it was about a year ago, and we got a really lively Q&A session. So really looking forward to hearing from all of you on the line about how it's affecting you and what you'd like there to be in the next agreement and what you'd like us to explain, because we have been quite steeped in it over the last at least 3 years. So sometimes it's hard to step back and think, well, what is it that people really want to hear about? So as Chris said, yeah, I have been up until, I still am in fact, working remotely, the what is known as the Trade Commissioner for Turkey and the wider region, Eastern Europe and Central Asia. And also I was until recently the Consul General in Istanbul. So I arrived in Turkey in 2016, shortly after the Brexit referendum. So this was at that point, it was just being realised by the powers that be that we were going to need, it was very important. Turkey was a hugely important trading partner, and we would need arrangements in place with Turkey to ensure the continuity of what was then and still is a very, very important and healthy and thriving bilateral trade relationship. First thing I should say is that the UK-Turkey Free Trade Agreement was signed on the 29th of December, because I think most of you will appreciate that we weren't able to sign it until the EU-UK deal was done. So it was a roller coaster ride, sort of nerve jangling time up into that last sort of bit of time. We got it done though on the 29th of December. I was in the Foreign Office, the Locarno suite with Liz Truss, the Secretary of State, as it was being signed in Ankara. She had wanted to travel until just before Christmas. We had hoped that she would be able to travel to be with her Turkish counterpart to sign it in person, but COVID unfortunately prevented that from happening. But it was the next best thing. It was done remotely, and it was then had to go through various parliamentary processes and was finally ratified a few weeks ago on the 20th of April. So, you know, as we were leaving the EU, there were a number of trading relationships which it was hugely important that we managed to preserve, and this was one of the highest ones up the list and one of the more complicated ones because of Turkey's membership of the customs union. But as from the 1st of January this year, so the UK has now completed its transition from being a member state of the European Union, as you'll all very much be well aware of, and has become a wholly independent trading nation. And in the 4 years since the Brexit referendum, the government's been putting in place all sorts of arrangements for our life outside the EU, our trading life, if you like. And this meant negotiating new arrangements with partner countries all across the globe to provide the continuity that we were looking for as our first step towards some more ambitious agreements. But we've now managed to reach agreement with, Britain has managed to reach agreement with 67 countries, and of course with the European Union, which attracted, you know, by far the most of the publicity was all about the UK-EU deal. David Frost was over there negotiating right up to the last minute as well. And that these agreements in total are now covering some £900 billion of UK trade. So, you know, hugely important that we got those done. The UK-Turkey FTA, as I mentioned, was all to do with a sort of cliff edge, which we would have gone over when the UK left the customs union. And it's because Turkey is itself in a customs union with the EU. And it's really, you know, a lot of credit to a lot of people that we managed to get that done. A lot of folk in DIT London, the sort of negotiating team led by Charlotte Hayes, was working really hard with their Turkish counterparts and with a lot of other, a lot of other departments across Whitehall to make sure that we got this done. So it's great that we have got this done. The agreement will, as far as is possible, and if you're interested in the technicalities, David can go into the detail, but as far as is possible, it will replicate the arrangements that the UK-Turkey Customs Union, the EU-Turkey Customs Union, sorry, enjoyed up until the end of last year. And this includes preferential, the EU-Turkey preferential arrangements on coal and steel, on agriculture as well. These have all been transferred now into the bilateral trade agreement between the UK and Turkey. And actually, by bringing together the provisions of a number of distinct EU-Turkey agreements, which had sort of grown up piecemeal over the years because of Turkey's customs union membership, they've now been brought, in the case of the UK and Turkey, into one modernized FTA. So we have now got a simpler instrument which reflects better, actually, our modern trading practices, is easier to understand. So whilst it is only continuity so far, the very fact that it's all been brought together into this one document makes our lives easier. It's a hugely important agreement for preserving the trade flows between our two countries. And it's worth mentioning that UK-Turkey trade has grown some 70% over the last decade. And just before the pandemic outbreak, in 2019, UK-Turkey bilateral trade was worth around £19 billion. So that, as I said earlier, it's a hugely important bilateral trade relationship. This has fallen off a little bit, obviously during COVID, but we are optimistic. And in fact, the Turkish trade figures are looking brighter in the first part of this year than they were. So, we are cautiously optimistic. But without having agreed this new FTA, exporters on both sides would have been faced with additional tariffs. And some trade would have become uncompetitive as a result. With the FTA, on the other hand, we've protected businesses from this disruption, and we've managed to preserve important supply chains in a number of manufacturing sectors. And I'm sure some people on the line will be representatives of those particular sectors. So we've preserved tariffs free access for UK exporters of automotives, for example, really, really key sector, for medicines, for steel, for plastics. And with this first step alone, there is significant potential for our trade to continue to grow in line with our pre-COVID trajectory. It was also important for preserving some really key and complex supply chains across Turkey, one of those being automotive, of course, across Turkey, the UK and the European Union. And if you're interested in learning more about the rules of origin aspects of this, David can say more, but suffice it to say that there's a separate protocol being agreed on rules of origin, and the accumulation, which is very important to those in that supply chain, has been secured. So that's fantastic news. The UK Trade Secretary Liz Truss and other government ministers more generally see this as a stepping stone to reaching this full potential of the Turkey-UK bilateral trade and investment relationship. And we will be looking as we enter into a review, which we're committed to begin in the next 2 years, of the whole trading relationship, and looking towards a comprehensive free trade agreement, which could include lots of more exciting areas which are not covered currently, such as agriculture, such as digital trade, such as services, of course, and many other areas that a modern free trade agreement would include, things like the environment, climate change, subsidies. There's many things which are not in this deal, which we would look to put into the comprehensive deal. And as I say, that will be the review of that. We are committed in the current FTA. There is a clause about this review, and we're committed to commence those negotiations in the next 2 years. So in the intervening period between now and then, we'll be looking to business to help us to understand what it is that they would like to see in a free trade agreement. And as has been the case, and you've probably seen over the last couple of years, as there have been public consultations on the UK-US FTA, the UK-New Zealand, the UK-Australia, we would expect to see a similar sort of period of consultation in the case of the UK-Turkey Comprehensive Free Trade Agreement. So just wanted to say in closing that if there is information available on .gov, the government website, about for businesses who are looking to trade with Turkey. So many of you may have already seen those pages, but just to say that if you have any questions, you're not limited to looking at the pages of the government website. Of course, there are human beings, Chris, Emrah at the Chamber, there are others, there are people in my team in Turkey, David, and a whole raft of other people. And there are people in DIT, the Department for International Trade, in London. So there are people there who can help you to navigate those pages and also to answer any particular questions you might have. But I'm hopeful that, especially since the Rules of Origin agreement came in, and we have now, the FTA is now fully entered into force as of April, that any teething problems that anybody might have been experiencing in those sort of first 3 months of this year will now have gone away and been lifted. There were 1 or 2 instances where things had not filtered through to particular customs officials, for example, and people were being asked to pay tariffs that they shouldn't have been being asked to pay. But we are confident and hopeful that that is now a thing of the past. But that's the whole reason we hold meetings such as this one, because we want to hear from you whether that is indeed the case and what it is, how it feels on the ground. So with that, I'm going to stop and looking forward to having a useful discussion. But thanks to the Chamber for putting this event on. It's really useful for all of us to do these things. So thanks, Chris. Hello to you all over in Turkey from a very sunny London, actually, as it happens.
Well, thank you, Judith, and we'll be hearing from Judith a little later. And we're very jealous that you've got sunny London, because Istanbul is a bit wet and windy. So you've stolen our weather for the time being. But I mean, the FTA, as you've described, gives us a very strong platform now to move forward, and build and enhance our trade relations, which, due to the agreement to renegotiate over 2 years, will create and present a lot more opportunities for UK exporters, which we're here to keep everybody in the loop on that, to make them aware of when these new opportunities are on the table, and we can take advantage of them. Like all negotiations, although we've been negotiating now for over 2 years, almost 3 years, with the trade team, and there are always one or two hiccups, and as Judith said, we've probably overcome most of them over the last 3 months, so that we can now run more smoothly. But the devil is in the detail, as we all know, and David's not the devil, but he does know the detail, and hopefully he's going to bring some clarity to some of the areas that may not be quite as clear as they should be. And I also support Judy's comment that if you go on the government website, I mean, looking at things in black and white, you can't actually nuance some of those things. So we are here, and we're all ready and prepared to give you sort of one-to-one answers on those areas. So moving to David now. So if David can now talk us through what are the key terms of the FTA, and how has that affected our business relations? We don't believe it has. We believe that it gives us an opportunity to actually build. And this area of rules of origin, ATR has gone, and rules of origin has now replaced that. So over to you, David.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for that very helpful introduction, and hello from an equally sort of grey and cloudy Ankara today. So who would have expected on the 1st of June that London would be sunnier than Turkey's 2 biggest cities? But for those of you who haven't met before, my name's David Machin. I work as a trade attaché at the UK Embassy in Ankara, and I look very much at the trade policy relationship between the two countries. And as Judith mentioned, I've been quite involved in the negotiation for the UK-Turkey FTA between 2018 and its signature at the end of last year, and its ratification about 5 or 6 weeks ago. So I'm going to focus my opening remarks on what the terms of the new FTA are and what it practically achieves, and what the differences might be between trading under the customs union up until the end of the transition period last year, and under the new FTA, particularly post ratification of the agreement and post ratification of the updated rules of origin protocol. So first and foremost, the UK-Turkey Free Trade Agreement ensures continuity as much as possible for British and Turkish businesses, and provides a solid foundation, we believe, upon which to build towards an even stronger, broader trading relationship in the near future. And that's very much our aim. This is a stepping stone. This is not a comprehensive free trade agreement. This is a continuity trade agreement that seeks to replicate as much as possible the various agreements that existed between Turkey and the European Union, upon which we've been trading for a long time. So this agreement replicates the effects of a number of different EU-Turkey agreements, starting with the 1963 agreement, creating an association between the European Economic Community and, of course, the Republic of Turkey. Then the agreement on the European Coal and Steel Community, extending to the Republic of Turkey, covering trade in those products. And of course, the decision 195 establishing the customs union between the EU and Turkey, which entered into force in 1995. So replication of these treaties into one single overarching free trade agreement, as far as technically possible, was really important because of the large volumes of bilateral trade that have built up between the UK and Turkey directly and via European value chains, supply chains, over the past 2 decades in particular. One of the primary benefits for businesses of this FTA, perhaps the most important benefit, is the preservation of preferential tariffs between traders in our two countries. Crucially, 0% tariffs on all non-agricultural goods. Judith mentioned some of the key areas that this covers, but automotive, we've prevented tariffs of 10%, the MFN tariff that the UK would have had to employ were the FTA not in place. Tariffs for 12% on Turkish textiles coming into the UK, washing machines 2 or 3%. Likewise, for UK pharmaceutical exports, steel exports, potentially even higher tariffs of 20 or 30%. And so in locking in those preferential trading arrangements, we believe this FTA goes a very long way to supporting the existing almost £19 billion relationship pre-COVID. And of course, we've also committed to working towards a more ambitious, a comprehensive free trade agreement in an article, a clause within the FTA. So the effect on supply chains has also been preserved as much as possible. And one really big example here is Ford Otosan in Turkey and Ford Europe's operations in the UK, where over 7,500 people work in and around the Dagenham plant. So car parts are imported from the UK to Turkey, in particular engines. The assembly takes place in Ford in Kocaeli, and that's an operation which we've been able to preserve with the terms of this continuity agreement. In terms of the areas, I'd like to briefly outline the different sections of the continuity trade agreement, and it covers these areas. There's provisions on trading goods, including provisions on preferential tariffs, tariff rate quotas in the agriculture space, rules of origin, sanitary and phytosanitary measures. There's a chapter on customs and trade facilitation. There's a chapter on intellectual property, on technical barriers to trade, competition, trade remedies, and dispute settlement. So it's quite a wide-ranging document, and the full trade agreement is available to see on gov.uk, so you can go and check any of those particular areas for yourself if they're of interest. Wherever possible, the UK government has sought a technical replication of these agreements, technical replication, but in some cases we've had to apply bespoke solutions for individual agreements as necessary to ensure continuity of effect in a bilateral context. One example is, of course, the customs and facilitation chapter, which is very different under a free trade agreement to a customs union. So we have a bespoke chapter in that area. And owing to the need to transition from this customs union to a free trade agreement, we have highlighted where those changes are in place. The key difference, which I think we hear from most businesses, the most questions about, is the end to free circulation of goods that is inherent in a customs union, and the move towards an origin declaration-based system. So as Chris has mentioned, the ATR form is no longer in use for trade of goods between the UK and Turkey. It's been replaced by an origin declaration. This is quite a simple declaration form. It can be provided electronically or in paper. The exact wording that should be used, again, is available on www.gov.uk. It's really important that this is applied properly and correctly filled in to ensure that goods flow through customs smoothly, and that any preferential tariffs, generally at 0% for non-agricultural goods, are able to be applied. Now the UK government has regained this independent trading policy. Of course, the government is determined to help shape areas that go beyond the existing continuity and look at dynamic areas of trade, both at the World Trade Organization, areas like services and digital trade, but also in terms of our bilateral free trade agreements. And those are both areas we've highlighted as areas we would like to go further in our second phase comprehensive free trade agreement with Turkey, as we would like to in agriculture as well, which is not fully in scope of this first phase continuity agreement. So to conclude, we believe we have locked in all the benefits of the existing trading arrangements where possible, and where feasible in terms of transitioning from a customs union to a free trade relationship. We have committed to starting negotiations on a comprehensive free trade agreement by the end of next year latest, including looking at agriculture, digital trade and services, and a number of other areas. And we have now fully implemented, ratified and fully implemented as of middle of April, this continuity agreement. So we're in a very good place. We're looking forward to hearing from you, from any questions, concerns that you have, and hopefully we'll do our best to answer them today. Thanks so much.
Thank you, David. Well, again, we've got a number of areas to cover, and you know, the next area that you know, I'm sure people will want to get a clearer picture of is on logistics, and you know, particularly how logistics and movements of goods are affected by the FTA. and anything that businesses should be aware of in order not to face problems on the movement of goods. I think there's also another aspect there of transit goods for Turkey, because Turkey is a massive transit country for UK products travelling, further on than Turkey into the Middle East and Central Asia and onto Africa. So I'll put that question to both David and to Judith, and they can sort of share the response on that one. But another interesting area that we'd like to have a bit more clarity on.
David, do you want to go first, and then I'll follow up?
Thanks, Judith. Yes, very happy to. So this is an area of the free trade agreement, Chris, where we do have a bespoke chapter to cover customs and trade facilitation. So if anyone is interested in looking up the full detail, simply go to the FTA documents on the government webpage and look at the customs and trade facilitation chapter. We've agreed provisions in there which do allow for the efficient transport of goods across national borders, while seeking to minimize the administrative and operational burden on traders. For this chapter, we have used a sort of modern template that we've used across a number of UK free trade agreements with other countries, and we've committed to cooperation between customs authorities in both countries, HMRC and the Turkish Ministry of Trade, and transparency in those customs procedures. One key part of the document that's really relevant is the Mutual Administrative Assistance Protocol in Customs Matters, which is a mouthful, but this is the sort of legal text that ensures that we do seek transparency and efficiency, that we seek to avoid delays at the borders and minimize any burdens on businesses. Thanks.
Sure, I don't think I particularly have anything to add to that one. Thanks.
Okay, just one question from me, David. We did have a webinar on VAT and going both ways. I mean, when is VAT paid and on what? I mean, it's a very complicated subject, and we're happy to answer questions on that more detail offline. But do you have any information on VAT and in terms of as it leaves the EU coming into Turkey and vice versa?
Thanks, Chris. This is not an area that's covered, to my knowledge, by the free trade agreement. But of course, since we're no longer in a customs union, in fact, goods coming from Turkey are in a sort of separate category anyway from EU goods into the UK. But as we're not in a customs union, my guess would be that there shouldn't be VAT applied when the export is made directly. But this is not an area covered by the free trade agreement. We'd be very happy to take away any specific questions and consult with HMRC in the UK system if there are any specific interests on VAT.
Okay, thanks for that. And I know it's a complicated issue and it's not covered by the, but we do get quite a few questions on that particular subject. And I think the other area is where we're dealing with third-party countries. Organisations in the UK are sourcing not from UK but from other countries, and then either assembling or reshipping onto other markets, and obviously particularly Turkey. I mean, any changes there? Any issues there that we could be facing?
Do you want to say a bit more about the accumulation point, David, perhaps?
Yes, very happy to
That's
sort of
probably
say
worth
something
covering
about
that.
accumulation and also sort of in terms of transiting goods through countries as well. So in terms of accumulation, of course, we're no longer in a customs union, so goods under scope, first of all, are goods exported, Turkish goods exported from Turkey to the UK and UK goods exported from the UK to Turkey. What we've also done, we would have had a problem there because, of course, there are many Turkish and British companies that relied upon parts, components from the EU for assembly in either Turkey or Britain and then export onwards. Because of the length of time we've been in the customs union together, and because both British and Turkish industrial sectors are quite integrated with the European supply chain. So What we have decided bilaterally as London and Ankara when negotiating this agreement was that we would use what we call enhanced accumulation. So we will continue to recognize EU content within a Turkish good or within a UK good, and we can export using the free trade agreement, and those goods with EU content will be considered Turkish enough or British enough to benefit from those zero tariffs. So that's a really important thing. What we haven't been able to achieve, which was out of our control, was what's called diagonal accumulation. And so the EU did not accept the UK's offer during our negotiation between London and Brussels on diagonal accumulation between Britain, the EU, and our mutual preferential trading partners. So we have not been able to achieve that, but we are certain that this enhanced accumulation of EU content being recognised in Turkish and UK exports in our bilateral FTA goes a very long way to helping and certainly protects those critical supply chains in the automotive sector.
Thank you, David. And as I say, that's a very interesting area, and I'm sure we'll be getting further questions on that going forward. But at least we've achieved some sort of parity on that with Turkey and UK, but not necessarily with Brussels. But probably work in progress, as we say. Moving on to another area, and looking to the future as this FTA is renegotiated and enhanced. The region offers great potential for UK exporters, and also relationships between UK companies and Turkish companies. We're well aware that Turkish companies have got a long-standing, over many centuries of trade with the region, particularly in Central Asia and the Middle East and North Africa. And hopefully the free trade agreement that's renegotiated will give us a stronger platform for bilateral trade, not just for the domestic market in Turkey, but also for the region. If we could just talk a little bit about what the future holds and how we see where the growth potential will come from, and what sectors we believe offer the greatest potential that could be renegotiated during this 2-year period.
Hi. Yes, I could probably say a little bit about that, Chris. Sure. Obviously we were, as I mentioned, I think, and both David and I both mentioned what a healthy position UK-Turkey trade was in pre the pandemic, and that's obviously something we want to get back to. But the pandemic there's one sector that the pandemic has thrown into sharp relief, which would be healthcare, where we were already doing some good stuff in that sector. Obviously, Turkey's building a whole raft of new hospitals, and some of them are already finished, some of them aren't. But a whole lot of opportunities in that sector, which some people have already exploited. We know that Bupa has come in and bought Acibadem Insurance. There's the fact that they've gone so far and built some of these vast new hospitals has stood them in good stead during the pandemic, but there are plenty of other opportunities in that sector. The whole digital, and we've mentioned it as a potential part of the comprehensive FTA. The whole digital sort of explosion, if you like, across globally. The UK is very well positioned to help Turkey to move up that value chain across. That covers quite an array of sectors. There are many opportunities in the defence and security sector. That's centred in around Ankara. We're very keen to exploit those, and we have some real experts working in that sector, and plenty of things happening there. Education's another one. Creative is another one. Manufacturing Turkey does extremely well already, and this is the sector where UK can come in and as I say, help Turkey to move up that value chain. And then the whole sort of clean clean energy side of things, making things more efficient, more energy efficient. UK has some expertise there. So we've got people working across a range of different sectors. Those are just a few that I could mention, but happy to dive into any particular ones that anybody has an interest in talking about.
Okay.
I mean, the FTA itself, when you look at it, if you look at it very crudely and think about where the opportunities lie, we always talk about the fact that Turkey has fabulous agricultural produce that in fact doesn't compete with the UK itself. So some of the sort of stuff you're hearing when you're talking about the UK-Australia trade agreement doesn't really arise when it comes to the sorts of things which grow in Turkey, which we can't grow in the UK. So that's and then that's sort of set against that on the other side is the UK strength in services. So you could see it as a kind of grand bargain between Turkish agriculture for UK services. But obviously, once you get delving into the detail and the technicalities of it, it gets complicated. But that's the sort of, if you look at it very crudely on the back of a postage stamp, those would be the sort of what I would see as the two big opportunities: agriculture on the Turkish side and services on the UK side.
Thank you, Judith. Well, as I say, we'll keep everybody informed as we move forward on this. But there will be enormous potential coming down the line, and it's our responsibility to make sure that our UK exporters are ahead of the curve on that, and we'll be doing our best to make sure they are. So we do have some questions, and please keep them coming. I'm going to sort of read them out and give both David and Judith the opportunity to answer. We may not be able to give you a perfect answer, but we'll do our best. So we've got a question here from a gentleman. What's his name? David May. Yeah, he's asked. We are trying to export plastic raw materials. HS code 39153. I don't think that's relevant to Turkey as we speak. However, the importer in Turkey is subject to 6.5% import duty, and the trade is on hold because of this duty. Is this lifted as the FTA has been ratified on the 28th of April?
David, I'm passing that one over to you.
This sounds like a very complex question, but it's actually a very simple one. So the answer is yes. So, and now the agreement has been ratified, all non-agricultural goods should have a 0% tariff. The other reason this could be a problem potentially is if there's not sufficient origin declaration in place. But if this is genuinely UK origin plastic raw material under the HS code you've provided, then there should now be 0 tariffs in place. If you're still having problems, feel free to get in contact with us via the BECCT, and we will help you unblock that problem. Okay,
well, that's well answered. I think we've solved the problem there to a greater extent. We're moving on to the next one. Mark McLaughlin. He's well, I think we can deal with this offline, but basically he's asking us to find a textile manufacturer in Turkey. We'll take that on at BCCT and deal with an answer to that one. We'll be more than happy to help, and I'm sure we can satisfy your requirements. So if we move on to NBMA, certificate of origin is causing problems when we are re-exporting from the UK for goods sourced from Turkey. Does that make sense? You've probably got the question in front of you there if you go on the Q&A. Certificate of origin is causing problems when re-exporting from the UK for goods sourced from Turkey.
Yes, so I think it depends on exactly what the nature of the problem is. So is this goods that are from Turkey sort of stockpiled in the UK and then exported to a third country? Are there any sort of processing that takes place in the UK on those Turkish goods, or is it simply sort of sent to the UK and then sent elsewhere? And if so, where? I think we still need a little bit more information to try and help you with that one.
Yeah, so if you could drop us an email with more detail, we'll get back to you with more detail, as David has said. So moving on, Yasha, what about the likelihood of digital markets, including telco industry, to be covered by the agreement in the near future?
Very likely. So we have identified this as an area specifically mentioned in the review clause of our first step continuity agreement that we would like to be covered by the second phase free trade agreement. And this is not unique to the UK-Turkey free trade agreement. Liz Truss, the UK Secretary of State for International Trade, has sort of outlined digital trade as a key area where the UK can excel and shape policy going forward. This is an area of the world economy that's still less regulated, less, let's say, developed in a trade policy sense than conventional trade in goods and conventional trade in services. And of course, it's also an area where the UK has a lot of expertise and commercial interest. So we will definitely be pursuing this as a priority in the second phase comprehensive.
Okay, thank you for that. And another question on services. Has anything changed really in terms of services from UK-based companies to Turkey? Or vice versa, services from Turkey to UK in the agreement?
So we have not included services in this agreement. This is an agreement covering trading goods only. The reason for that is because we were pursuing the continuity approach. We were replicating the various arrangements on trading goods between the EU and Turkey. We would like to include services in the next agreement. This is clearly a priority and a big opportunity. We know this is a long-standing sort of demand as well from the Turkish business community in their attempts to seek a modernized customs union. There's various political challenges there, but certainly in our second phase UK-Turkey free trade agreement, we will certainly be pursuing services because that's the main area of opportunity we believe for both British and Turkish exporters. And we've already mentioned the UK's strength in services. We're obviously the second largest services exporter in the world, but Turkey's also got a very strong service economy and is also a net service exporter. So there should be many good opportunities there.
Okay, thanks, David. We've got a question here from Fanibe. What templates will be used as a framework for a digital chapter in the comprehensive FTA, for example, UK, Japan, UK, Australia perspective? Do we have any information?
We don't know yet. So I could hazard a guess that anything we sort of negotiate from the UK's attempts to accede to CPTPP will form a very strong basis. We do not yet have a sort of UK final position. I think you can watch this space depending on what the UK negotiates with Australia. I think that should be quite interesting. Of course, we do have a model already with Japan, as you've mentioned in your question, but we do not yet know what the approach will be for the UK-Turkey digital chapter, but it's very likely it would replicate to a large extent any other digital chapters we negotiate with the likes of Australia, New Zealand, and so on.
Okay, thank you. Tevik Bey's asked a question about VAT. Drop us a line on that. We'll put you in touch with an expert on that. It's not something that we're qualified to comment on at the moment because, as David has said, it's not in the FTA, but we will be able to give you some guidance on that offline. Stephen Bird, question on rules of origin. How does this apply when the value added by a UK company to an electronic system sourced from outside the EU, as in the software developed in the UK and installed in the UK and then exported as a combined unit to Turkey? The value of the software in terms of the total product is around 80%. That seems very complicated, but I don't think
nice and complicated as all rules of origin questions generally are. I think the way we would go around answering that is we would have to look up the product-specific requirements in the FTA, which is towards the back page of the document for the particular good you're looking to export. As the value of the UK component seems to be very high, you said around 80%, this would probably be more than enough, but we would need to check that against the product specific code. You should be able to do it yourself by looking at the FTA, but if you can't find it, then feel free to get in touch with us in writing, and we will do our best to help give you a certain answer to that.
Okay, thanks, David. And just to Stephen again, I mean, please drop us more information, and we'll follow up on that. A question here: could we expand on the possible deal for the education sector, which is a high priority and something that we will be working on?
I mean, there isn't a lot more to say than what I've already said. You know, it's obviously Turkey's got a young population. It's a huge sector. They're trying to, you know, they've been educating kids from home. They've had a lot of problems with their, you know, they're teaching kids online. I think there's a lot of opportunity in that kind of digital side of the sector. The British Council is quite prominent in Turkey. They have recently signed a cultural centres agreement with the Turkish government, which they've been trying to do for ages. And there's a lot of scope in the English language side of the education sector, obviously, and to broaden it out into the whole training sector. You've got the language is obviously an issue because most education is done in Turkish, but there's a big appetite for English language and for education in English. And some of the top universities actually educate in English already. So, I mean, beyond that, there isn't a lot to say. But you know, again, any specific questions whoever's asked the question has about whether their particular business might be a flyer in Turkey, please let us know, and we between us and the chamber we'll be happy to try to answer those specific questions.
Thank you, Judith. Another question here from Mahmoud. Is there any change on sugar taxes when importing from Turkey? We are planning to import jellies from Turkey and trying to work out pricing. I mean, let's just deal with the sugar issue. We'll leave jellies for later.
Well, so to answer that question, we have rolled over the tariff rate quotas and preferential tariffs on a small number of agricultural products that were included in the EU-Turkey arrangements. Where there is no preferential tariff in place, we will employ what's called the UK Global Tariff, which is the UK's MFN tariff. In a small number of cases, the UK Global Tariff is actually lower than the preferential tariff rolled over from the EU agreements, in which case you'll benefit from whichever is the lower of the two. So the way to check that up is to use the UK government's tariff lookup tool. You can find that with a quick Google search, and that will show you the tariff that will be charged for sugar imports from Turkey to the UK.
Okay, thanks, David. We have a question here from Monica Slater. I didn't know Judith was asking her family to submit questions, but there we are, just to bolster the... But anyway, let's get serious. My customers in Turkey are asking when the deal will be ratified. Well, it has been ratified, and as they claim that they are informed they will be charged additional customs tariffs. I was very surprised to hear that the ratification had already happened, as our local Chamber of Commerce were not aware. I mean, this is an issue that we have faced in the past, recent past, where there was confusion as to whether the free trade agreement was operational from the 1st of January, and did it depend on being ratified? Well, the free trade agreement, as far as I'm aware, was operational, not in all its forms, but it was operational. And since ratification, everything is now in place. So it is confusing and surprising when your local Chamber of Commerce, wasn't aware of this. And this is why we're having these webinars, because we want everybody to be informed with the facts, so that they know how to deal with their business in relation to Turkey. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Something that we are aware of, and we're making sure that our networks in UK are fully informed.
Can I add one quick comment to that, if I may?
Yes, absolutely.
Just agree with everything you've said. A few weeks ago, the Turkish government published in its official gazette from its presidency the sort of notification that the FTA had been brought fully into effect following the ratification, which will have been cascaded to all customs authorities around Turkey. So everyone should now be aware. Of course, there could still be teething issues. Certainly in that January to April gap, there were issues as it was partially in effect, but it has now been fully conveyed from the presidency in Ankara to customs authorities in Turkey. So hopefully this problem will go away very quickly.
So was that question from a, sorry, I put my camera on. Was that question from a Turkish attendee, or was it from somebody talking about the local chamber in the UK not being aware of them?
Chambers in UK.
Yeah, because my namesake, so I didn't think it sounded very Turkish. So maybe we have done quite a lot of outreach to make people aware that the agreement has now been ratified. But maybe I think you can never over communicate. So maybe we need to do yet more communication.
Yeah, I mean, we are, the BCCT is an associate member of the British Chambers of Commerce, so we're in regular contact with UK chambers, and we have MOUs with the big regional British chambers. And as I say, we've been holding webinars and meetings with our colleagues in UK, and we kept them up to date with the information. So this may be an isolated case where this particular chamber has not picked up on it, but as I say, UK chambers were informed. There's no doubt about that. But as I say, maybe one or two have slipped the information channels. So as I say, it's all in place now. So no need to worry. Let's just do it, as Boris would say. Let's get on with it. We've come to the end of Q&As. There is a question there, but it's rather complicated on HS codes. We have your details, and we will follow up on that offline, because it needs a bit more analysis. So, but we will deal with that HS codes question. Right, recordings will be published on the BCCT Chamber website, and if you have any problems while accessing the Turkish market, I mean, BCCT and our colleagues and friends in DIT in market here, I mean, we're here to help you get over those problems and ensure that you have a seamless entry and a risk-free entry into the market. That's what we're here to do. And we just welcome any inquiries at all that you may have. And as I say, we'll decide who's best to deal with it, whether it's our BCCT trade team or it's the DIT trade team. And as I say, the knowledge and experience that we have in that combined group is extensive. So you will get the best advice and guidance available. So as I say, make sure that you come through to BCCT or to the DIT team, and we'll make sure that you get all the right answers. Okay, I just want to hand over to Judith for a final few words. I think it's been an extremely productive webinar, and as I say, it's work in progress, and we're here to build on what we've already achieved, and we've achieved a lot. I mean, the BCCT have been here since sort of 1887, so we've been here a long time, over 130 odd years. So it's something that we want to ensure that continuity, because we've been trading with Turkey for over 100 years in many shapes and forms. We've overcome some situations in the First World War where we're on the wrong side, or whoever was on the wrong side, but we were against each other in that particular conflict, but we overcame that, and trade continues. And we've had a strong trading relationship with Turkey all the way through the 20th century and then through into the 21st century. So it's a country with enormous potential, and we want to make sure that UK exporters realise that potential. it is a competitive market. We're not the only ones looking to build our trade in Turkey. You know, there are lots of other countries who've prioritised Turkey as a potential market for their exporters. So we want to build our market share and consolidate our presence here. And you know, working together, you know, we will achieve that. So Judith, can I just hand over to you just to say a few words?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks very much, Chris. No, just to endorse everything Chris just said. Just to repeat, you know, we're here to answer questions, not just about the FTA, but about any other issues you might have, any questions you might have. We work hand in glove with the Chamber. You know, put very crudely, we are more on the G2G side. The Chambers will help you if you're an SME and you have a particular inquiry on a particular sector. We can help if there are issues, you know, barriers and that sort of thing. We have teams in Ankara where David sits. We have a big team in Istanbul. We also have somebody in Izmir who's a Turkish member of staff, very knowledgeable. So most of our team are actually Turkish nationals who speak the language and are, you know, have a deep understanding of what's going on here. So don't hesitate to ask. And I just wanted to wish everybody every success with we know it's been a very, very challenging 18 months almost now, isn't it? It is 18 months since COVID arrived on the scene, but we are hopeful that the light is there at the end of the tunnel, and we want to help you all to and your businesses to thrive in Turkey. So best wishes all around, and thanks to David for the technical expertise on the call.
Great. Well, thank you, Judith, and thank you, David. As I say, we're getting a lot of well dones here. So obviously, yeah, I think we've achieved most of what we expected. As I say, we will be following up with these type of webinars as things develop. So watch this space, and we'll continue to keep you informed. Thank you.
Have a great day, everybody.